Hey, it's Tim from Ascennial, and today I'm going to do a perfect Facebook and Instagram advertising audit based on the principles in our blog post at ascennial.com. Essentially, I'm going to run through a actual live audit I did for a client that has been with us for over a year now and that we've scaled well on their way to 8 figures. When they came to us, they had just hit 7 figures and were very much struggling to get beyond that. So this is a great example of how you can apply these principles to recognize opportunities within your own brand or a brand that you are providing advertising services for. So let's go ahead and dive on in. First, we want to look at a high level or big picture view. We want to see what have they been doing in the last few months. So let's pick, for example, the last 5 or 6 months and see what is the kind of big picture view here. What are they spending? What have they done? For this particular client, they want a $150 cost per purchase. As you can see, they're very close to that already, which is why they're stuck. And we can see that they have had minor attempts of trying to scale. It looks like they tried to scale in June, early June, and that resulted in them pulling back on spend quite severely. And then they attempted to scale again in the last and from July into August, and then immediately pulled back on spend hard. No coincidence that they then came to us to then ask for help. So if I click on cost per purchase, I can actually see during that aggressive scaling, when they had tried in June, early June, and through July and August, look at these spikes. I mean, already it looks like it was stable for a bit. They started scaling and spikes began. Cost per purchase spikes. Again, in July, they started scaling into August. And what happened in August? It's pulling back for a week, pumped up again. As you can see, extremely high cost per purchases. The stability is here, but then it spikes up again until, of course, they drop the spend. So we can see, big picture that as they scaled, we can see that the cost per purchase is going crazy, right? Same here. We can see the cost per purchase is actually going nuts, and it seems to be whenever they seem to fluctuate spend. Now, there's not a direct, we can't directly say that it's caused by an influence of spend, but we can tell that any attempts of increasing spend does typically result in cost per purchase spiking. So that means we want to go into the account with that in mind, understanding that scaling has been extremely difficult for them, and we want to uncover why.
On a high level, I'm already a little confused as to why you keep repeating these campaigns, like why they're organized by month. Because even if your inventory is different, that doesn't really change the landing page. I would really be curious as to why that is. I hope it's not due to the old myth that restarting campaigns will somehow allow Facebook to optimize better. That is justifiably false. That said, maybe there's some context I'm missing. So now let's give it all, like, let's pretend that these months don't matter because I'm unsure and I've yet to ever see why this strategy is implemented. But let's dive into what's going on here. So I can see you have cities separate from each other. I also see you do not have a national campaign. I do see that you have what I believe are some dynamic product ads, which are great for retargeting and for re-engagement. And you have fixed ads, which is great. So your retargeting re-engagement on a high level, keep in mind I haven't dived in, I'm just talking about campaign structure, looks good. I also see that you have a different conversion campaign for each city. That also looks good. I would recommend you have also a national one kind of as a catch-all until you build out city specific. All right, let's go ahead and dive into your audiences. So who are the audiences you're targeting in these different cities? Okay, not many. So right away, I'm already a little skeptical as to why this. You're not testing much. You're only testing the purchase pixel, which is great. I see you're only testing 1%. I would be testing different variations of that. For instance, for a city-specific campaign, I tend to test 10%. You can also modify that. That said, 1% is a good basic way to start campaigns, to start ad sets. Let's see what's going on further down in the details of this. So you're not excluding your web visitors and you're not excluding your website visitors. These should both be excluded in all of your conversion prospecting ads. Right away, that's a huge way of improving not a huge way, but a nice way of improving your account, because hypothetically you're advertising to your pre-existing customers, you're annoying them, which is bad for your brand, And you're advertising to your website visitors who should be getting really unique ads based on when they visited your site or the types of products they viewed. So that right there is a big improvement. Everyone in this location, also incorrect. It should be people who live in this location. Otherwise, you're getting all the travelers and tourists from all over the world, not just in California, who are coming through and who aren't good um, people who will buy your product because they need to be living in LA for it to make sense for them to be buying your product. Obviously, I don't expect any detailed targeting, but you can combine that with lookalikes. I'm guessing this one right here was an attempt at that. Let's check it out. Oh, no, it's not. It was top 25% TOS. I'm not sure what that means, but I assume it's some sort of modified lookalike. Uh, Automatic placements needs to be taken with a grain of salt. You can do this, but only if you're customizing at the ad level each placement. I tend to separate from stories and feed, but I also customize the stories and feed. So you can sometimes have that in one campaign. I tend to do editing the placements, and I'll have all stories in one campaign and all feed in another, since those formats are so different and since the user experience is so different. It's almost like a different app they're using when you're looking at Instagram stories versus Instagram feed. So high level, not much audience is being tested here. Obviously, you have a huge history here, and maybe there's some context I'm missing. Maybe you tested more. Nope, seems to be the same. This is LA from a few months ago. Really don't understand why these campaigns are being restarted, so don't do that. That said, these 1% purchase pixel is a good move. You need to fix the exclusions though, and you need to do more combinations. Like you might actually be able to get a better, this is a decent return on ad spend, but have you tried combining this with engaged shoppers or combining this with a certain age demographic? So for instance, we might see on a high level that you have a really key takeaway, for instance, a really specific age range that is more optimal than you would for others. So let me just go ahead and give you an example of this. And this is another reason why you shouldn't keep restarting campaigns. You start losing learnings from who's actually your top converters. So 14 grand, that's enough to work with. Let's see, like, is there a difference in age? Do people convert differently in different age groups? Let's see. Oh, we need cost per purchase in here. All right, so clearly this 35 to 44-year-old range seems to be bigger, but then that seems to fall apart if we look at it in the aggregate. So give it a second to load. So I'm not really seeing a clear trend here because it seems a bit bizarre that it would be so high for 35 to 44. What I'd want to do is create a report and kind of analyze on a high level, are we seeing any trends here? Or maybe you have insights as well. And it doesn't mean you always need to tailor an ad to be like, hey, you're over 35. I think you're perfect for this product. But what it means is you think about the context of people who are in that age range, the types of struggles and obstacles they go through, and why your product would fit or perhaps solve one of their common life problems around that age. You probably have young kids. They are probably a little busier. For instance, if we found that overall that this age range seems to work well, we might, this is a hypothetical example, we might want to advertise more with kids in the picture. And that's kind of how you use data to inform your ad creative, which I'll get to in a second. So really, if we zoom out, this one's very a lot simpler for me to see rooms for improvement, in that the sense that you are not targeting a variety of audiences. You are restarting your campaigns, which allow us not to get this very important data for age and gender and platform and placements and all this great stuff that we can then use to continually inform our ad strategy. And let me go ahead and make it just campaign delivery is active. All right. So, yep, high level, that could definitely be improved. I'm also a bit confused as to why these are continuing to run and spend, given that it's a very negative return on ad spend. Makes sense San Francisco and LA are doing well, and maybe you're just accepting a higher or cost per purchase because you're trying to get into these markets. I would still do a national campaign, and that's something we would talk about is which plant products make sense for that. Um, Now, I see you're using, let's move on to retargeting. So, I think it's great that you've structured your campaigns, or sorry, your account to have fixed ads versus product specific. But let's see what's going on here. All right, so definitely you need to tier this better. While yes, you can have different tiers for San Francisco and LA, I would actually perhaps branch those off into their own campaigns, a retargeting for SF, or retargeting for LA, and then make a generalized US nationwide retargeting campaign, but definitely not just past 30 days. People perform differently depending on when they visited. So you could do it as granular as 3 day, 7 day, 14 day, 30 day. I tend to do 4 day and 180 day. We can always test different windows, but very much a simple strategy going on here that could be improved. 30 days is general. You're also not capturing anybody who visited past that. So, and you're also concentrating on a wide range of people rather than those that immediately have visited your site. All right, let's go ahead and see your product specific retargeting. Viewed or added to cart but not purchased in the past 14 days. Similarly, what we want to do here is tier that out more. I'm not seeing any tests that indicate that you've tested 3 days versus 4 days versus 7 days. There's a classic argument that, oh, well, by giving Facebook enough data that you will, it'll automatically optimize. That's, in my experience, usually not the case. Every client I've had that's come to me with a generalized 14-day and I tier it out, we get better performance. And we'll be able to see that and measure it and prove what works and what doesn't. This is pretty high of a cost per purchase for retargeting, but the return on ad spend looks really healthy, so seems fine to me. That said, we could improve that by tiering out that. Like, for instance, they viewed in 1 day. Maybe that's a different person. Or maybe you want to make a unique offer. How about people who viewed or added to cart and haven't purchased after 7 days, you offer 20% off. Stuff like that. That's why you need to treat your web visitors differently. Think about, like, when did they visit? What stage in the buying funnel are they? If they visited app like 30 days ago, you're going to need a hell of an enticing offer for them to want to come back and buy. But if they visited yesterday, you don't really need much of an offer. 7 days, maybe that's where you stick the offer in. And let's go ahead and see frequency. Let's see, are you really pushing this to the maximum? Are you pushing this too hard? Oh, wow. Okay, you are definitely pushing this way too hard. I would recommend you don't go over a frequency of 4. And this is very aggressive. Let's also check that frequency is on average how many times people are seeing your ad. Oh, I'm sorry. Disregard that. I just realized I had this on lifetime. Let's go ahead and check this in the last 30 days. Okay, still stands true. You gotta fix that. That's a really high frequency. Let's check for normal retargeting. Same thing. You really don't want to go over a retargeting well, you can push a bit higher for retargeting. Typically, your frequency of 4, you don't really want to go over. But for retargeting, you can go higher, but only if it's tiered. So what's happening now is that means anyone who's visited your site in the last 30 days, they've seen your ad almost 1 time per day, 17 times in the last month. So that's a lot of, or every other day for these people. So look at this cost per purchase. That's through the roof. So this definitely needs to get fixed up fast. And your return on ad spend is really poor. So big room for improvement on your retargeting campaigns. I could definitely clean those up dramatically. Definitely room for improvement in your audiences in your city-specific campaigns. I don't see a national campaign. Let's move over into ads. So let's see. These are also likely very repetitive audiences, if not probably identical. Let's do LA since that's what I started with. Okay, so I do like what I see about this B2B stuff right here. I'll maybe touch on that briefly, especially kind of going after that market. But I'm surprised I don't see different kind of audiences in here. For instance, for office workers, for B2B, for companies, instead we're just seeing purchase pixels in general. But let's go ahead and dive in. All right, so 1, you got too many ads running. I don't recommend having more than 4 within each ad set. that's just what I used to do this. I used to split test hundreds of ads. I used to do 252 ad campaigns. I worked at Ad Espresso, so that was our whole value prop. What I found by and large is it normally tends to gravitate towards one ad, and by having too many ads, you're kind of confusing the algorithm. So let me go ahead and do this. You're also not allowing social proof to aggregate on an ad. Let's say ad delivery is active. Let's see what's going on here. All right, so you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, about 10 active ads. Some of these are doing great right here. Some of these not so hot. So what you want to do is you want to turn off the ads that aren't performing well. So like this one should get turned off. This one's doing great. Why let it deliver? It's also confusing though, is why, if these are identical ads, why would one be performing better than the other? Aha, so one of these has different ad text, and that's exactly how you can A/B test things. And that is on a high level where the ad review is coming in. But then let's get even more granular. So like, what kind of images are you testing? I see you're doing carousels, which is good, but there's no ad copy on the image itself, which is bad. Also, this is very, it's funny. It's a funny one-liner. But why aren't we testing different types of things? For instance, why not long ad text? In my experience, long ad text outperforms short ad text. And at least we should test that. It doesn't always mean that's the case. And then we can test humor versus something more technical and more factual as to why you need a plant, why you should have a plant if you're living in LA. I love the color backdrop of these, but I'm also unsure why there's not perhaps more we could experiment with ad text on the image itself to make it more enticing. Let's see this. Let's go to desktop newsfeed. We could have something curved up here and write why this is, fresh air. For instance, other tests, I'm already thinking LA, known for pollution. Why don't we test that angle? Has that been tested before? When I tend to test e-commerce ads, I try to go with really different angles. I try testimonial ads, I try carousel ads, I try review ads, I try different value props as well. Like maybe you can do all those categories, but you can also do different angling. You can also have, for instance, you need a plant because of pollution. You need a plant because it promotes better mental health. You need a plant because it makes your living environment better for your family. It's more enjoyable. It makes you feel more relaxed, so relaxation. You could do a plant because it creates a more productive environment. Were there studies that associate more greenery with more productivity? All these things are different value prop angles you can take, and you can also combine those with different categorical types of ads. For instance, a carousel ad of reviews, or a carousel ad of a specific type of plant, or a testimonial ad of a customer talking to the camera, or a testimonial video of different I'm kind of losing track here, but I think you get the point. So that's ad creatives. I see a huge room for improvement here. These are very basic. You're literally just doing an image and just using the same ad text. So instead of testing just an image, it's something very basic like this, we should definitely be more aggressively testing both the creatives, in other words, like let's try adding stuff to this picture instead of a solid image, and the ad text itself, and the category of ads. So I just threw a ton at you, but by and large of it is a lot of room for improvement in your ad text and ad creative, and I think that that's something I could certainly leverage. I'm also not seeing any videos. Videos is huge for e-commerce. Where are your videos? You could do video carousels, video single videos. I'm not seeing any Instagram story videos. So there's huge room for improvement here. So I like seeing this. It means I can help you a lot. And yeah, I think overall, same thing I thought with the Google account. There's a lot of room for improvement. Especially on this account with the ad text and creative, the lack of audiences you're testing. And I will compliment that on a high level, this is a correct structure, except for restarting the campaigns, which I would inquire why that's the case. And um, the re-engagement, retargeting, all that's on a high level good, but the frequency is through the freaking roof. That means people, what you're doing right now is the last thing, your customers, people who've bought it, you're trying to get them to buy again, you're showing them ads on average 36 times in a month. That means the same person has seen that ad 36 times. You could probably pull that down and lower that budget and spend less per month and still get the same result, the same amount of sales. And that's something we could experiment with too.
As a final step, you'll want to check the landing pages. So basically, you'll click on the ads and see where the landing pages go. One of the most common mistakes is going to a homepage rather than a product page, which can create a lot more friction between visit and checkout. You'll also want to see the e-commerce conversion rates, either in Google Analytics or Facebook attribution. And finally, you'll actually want to physically view the landing pages yourself on desktop and mobile to see if there's any obvious mishaps going on that maybe the client overlooked and the ads are overlooking. Now, I'm not going to show you this on this particular client because of confidentiality reasons, but this should be a part of your strategy. And this is all elaborated in the blog post where each section I went through in this video is detailed out and entails a lot more than I could cram into this actual live audit. Now, that said, feel free to keep up with us on our blog. It's ascenial.com, ASCENIAL. That's ascenial.com. Thanks for tuning in, and I hope this helps you scale and grow your ads.